Pull over. Now. The black medical transport van immediately slowed onto the shoulder. Its flashing red organ transport beacon was still spinning on the roof. Marcus Johnson slammed the brakes and threw open the driver's window. I'm transporting a donor heart. It has to reach St. Gabriel Medical Center. A state trooper walked toward the van with one hand raised. Step out of the vehicle. Marcus stared at him. Officer, there's a child waiting for this heart. I don't have time. The officer's expression never changed. Step out now. Cars slowed as they passed. Drivers pulled out their phones. Someone started recording. Marcus slowly climbed out wearing a Navy medical transport jacket with an official Organ Recovery Network badge hanging around his neck. He raised both hands. The transport cooler is temperature controlled. If it sits here too long, someone dies. Another patrol SUV arrived, then another. Within seconds, 3 police vehicles surrounded the medical van. The officer held up a tablet. This vehicle was flagged as stolen 32 minutes ago. Marcus blinked. What? That's impossible. It belongs to the Organ Recovery Network. The officer looked directly into Marcus's eyes. Until we verify that, this vehicle isn't moving. Marcus reached into his jacket. My credentials. My transport authorization. My GPS route. My dispatch number. The officer accepted the documents, but didn't look at them. Not yet. Instead, he nodded toward another officer. Open the cargo compartment. Marcus stepped forward instinctively. Don't. Every second matters. The second officer blocked him with an arm. Stay back. The rear doors opened. Inside sat a single white medical transport container surrounded by electronic cooling equipment. A digital display glowed. Remaining safe transport time, 01:42,001. Marcus's stomach tightened. Back at St. Gabriel Medical Center, an operating room stood completely prepared. Bright surgical lights illuminated a tiny operating table. 8-year-old Ava Thompson lay unconscious. Her mother clutched her daughter's hand with trembling fingers. The lead transplant surgeon looked at the wall monitor. The countdown matched Marcus's container. 01:42,009, the surgeon quietly said, if that heart doesn't arrive, we cancel the transplant. The room fell silent. Back on the highway, a growing crowd gathered behind the police cruisers. Some whispered. Others pointed. One man laughed. So that's the guy they caught stealing medical supplies. Another shook his head. Unbelievable. Marcus heard every word. His jaw tightened. He wanted to shout. Instead, he looked only at the transport container. Then at the countdown. Every second felt louder. The lead trooper finally opened Marcus's paperwork. His radio suddenly crackled. Dispatch to Unit 12. We may have a registration conflict. Before anyone could respond, Marcus's transport phone rang. He answered instantly. This is Marcus. The transplant coordinator didn't waste a second. Marcus, the hospital has started the final countdown. We're running out of time. Marcus slowly closed his eyes, then looked directly at the officer. His voice stayed calm. If we lose another minute, an 8-year-old girl will never wake up. The officer looked from Marcus to the cooler to the flashing countdown. For the first time since the stop began, uncertainty appeared on his face. The lead trooper lowered the paperwork. Dispatch, repeat that last message. The radio crackled again. We have 2 identical registration numbers in the system. The stolen vehicle report may belong to a different van. Marcus took one step forward. I told you, the paperwork matches. The GPS matches. The medical authorization matches. The officer looked at him. I'm not ignoring you. I'm verifying everything. Marcus pointed toward the refrigerated container. You can verify after it reaches the hospital. The organ can't. The digital timer continued counting. 01:38,047 inside St. Gabriel Medical Center. The transplant team stood ready. Nurses completed the final equipment checks. The heart-lung machine hummed quietly. Dr. Emily Carter looked toward the operating room clock. No updates? The transplant coordinator slowly shook his head. The courier is still stopped. One nurse whispered, "How much time?" "Doctor," Carter answered honestly, "less than 90 minutes." No one spoke again. Back on the highway, more cars had stopped. A crowd gathered behind the patrol vehicles. Phones recorded every second. Some people assumed Marcus had been caught doing something illegal. Others argued with each other. One woman stepped closer to the police tape. "Officer, why are you stopping a medical transport?" The trooper answered calmly, "We're resolving a vehicle identification issue." Marcus looked at the refrigerated container again. Its cooling system beeped softly. Everything inside remained stable. For now. Then another police SUV arrived. A highway supervisor stepped out. He walked directly toward the lead trooper. "What have we got?" "Possible stolen vehicle." Marcus interrupted. "Possible?" The supervisor looked at the paperwork, then at Marcus's ID, then at the emergency transport authorization. His expression changed. "This paperwork looks legitimate." The lead trooper nodded. "So does the dispatch update. But until I receive final confirmation, I can't release the vehicle." Marcus looked toward the empty highway ahead. The hospital was only 28 miles away. 28 miles, that suddenly felt impossible. His transport phone rang again. This time, the caller ID read, "Operating Room 3." Marcus answered immediately. "Doctor," Carter's voice came through. "Marcus, we've already put Ava under anesthesia. If the heart doesn't arrive soon, I'll have to tell her mother we can't continue." Marcus couldn't answer. He simply looked at the countdown. 01:34,052, then something unexpected happened. A motorcycle officer raced toward the checkpoint. He stopped hard beside the patrol cars, pulled off his helmet, and handed the supervisor a printed dispatch update. The supervisor read the page. His eyes widened. He slowly looked back at Marcus. "The stolen report belongs to another black medical van." Marcus felt a wave of relief. Then the supervisor looked farther down the highway. His face suddenly went pale. "Oh no!" Marcus followed his gaze. Every lane ahead was completely blocked. A massive multi-truck collision had just shut down the interstate. Even if the police released him now, there was no road left to drive. For one long second, nobody moved. Marcus stared at the wall of stopped traffic stretching toward the horizon. Fire trucks, jackknife tractor trailers, smoke rising into the evening sky. The interstate was completely sealed. The lead trooper looked back at Marcus. "I can release you now, but you won't get through that." Marcus looked down at the digital timer. 01:29,018 every second disappeared like sand. Back at St. Gabriel Medical Center, 8-year-old Ava's heartbeat suddenly became irregular. The cardiac monitor echoed through the operating room. Beep, beep. Dr. Emily Carter looked at the anesthesiologist. "Stabilize her." A nurse quietly asked, "Should we start closing?" Dr. Carter shook her head. "Not yet. We fight until there's no time left." Across the observation window, Ava's mother watched with folded hands. She couldn't hear the conversation, but she could read every worried face. Back on the interstate, Marcus opened the transport map on his tablet. Every alternate highway flashed red. Closed, 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 closed. There was only one possible route left. County Road 17. A narrow mountain road, 32 extra miles. Marcus looked at the supervisor. "If I leave now, I might still make it." The supervisor checked another screen. His face fell. County Road 17 flooded an hour ago. Marcus closed his eyes. Every option gone. Then he heard something. The distant chopping sound of helicopter blades. His eyes shot upward. An air ambulance crossed the sky. Hope returned instantly. Marcus pointed. "Call them. They can fly the organ." The supervisor grabbed his radio. "Dispatch, can AirMed intercept?" Several agonizing seconds passed. Then the answer came back. "Negative, AirMed is transporting 2 burn patients." Marcus's shoulders dropped. "Another chance?" "Gone." The countdown continued. 01, 21,043. The crowd watching from behind the patrol cars had gone completely silent. Even the people recording on their phones lowered them. They finally understood. This wasn't about a traffic stop anymore. A little girl's life was slipping away. One elderly truck driver slowly walked toward Marcus. "What hospital?" "St. Gabriel." The truck driver nodded once, then turned toward the line of stranded motorists. He climbed onto his trailer step and shouted, "Everybody listen. If we can't move forward, then we'll make a road." Within seconds, drivers stepped out of their vehicles. Construction workers, motorcyclists, delivery drivers, families, dozens of complete strangers. Marcus frowned. "What are they doing?" The truck driver smiled. "They're about to do something I've never seen in 40 years on this highway." The lead trooper looked across the growing crowd, then quietly removed his police cap. Because he had just realized the rescue was no longer going to depend on one man. It was about to depend on hundreds. The truck driver raised both arms. "Move everything you can. Leave one lane." Without hesitation, people ran. Construction workers climbed into bulldozers parked at a nearby road project. Tow truck operators fired up their engines. Delivery drivers abandoned their vans. Police officers began directing civilians instead of stopping them. Within minutes, hundreds of strangers were working together. The lead trooper grabbed his radio. "Dispatch, I need every available unit. We're creating an emergency corridor." One by one, police cruisers blocked every entrance to the interstate. Their sirens echoed across the valley. "All civilian traffic stop. This highway is now reserved for emergency medical transport." Marcus stared in disbelief. An officer opened the driver's door of the transport van. "Marcus, get ready." The digital timer continued falling. 00:54,012 back at St. Gabriel Medical Center. The operating room had become eerily quiet. Dr. Emily Carter looked at the transplant coordinator. "Status, no arrival. 54 minutes. She slowly removed one surgical glove. The room fell silent. Every member of the transplant team understood what that meant. One nurse whispered, "We're almost out of options." Across the hallway, Ava's mother noticed Dr. Carter through the glass. Their eyes met. The mother immediately knew something was wrong. She pressed both hands against the window. "Please, don't stop fighting." Dr. Carter closed her eyes for 1 second, then put the glove back on. "No, we're staying ready. We don't quit before the clock does." Back on the highway, the emergency corridor was finally clear. Miles of traffic had parted into 2 perfect lines. It looked like a runway stretching toward the horizon. The lead trooper walked to Marcus's window. "I'm sorry for what happened." Marcus looked at him. "You were doing your job." The trooper shook his head. "And now it's time I do it better." He climbed onto his police motorcycle. Another officer joined him, then another. Within seconds, 6 motorcycle officers lined up in front of the transport van. The supervisor spoke into the radio. "All units. Priority 1. Escort begins now." The officers switched on their lights. Marcus gripped the steering wheel. The lead trooper raised one hand, then dropped it. "Go." The motorcycles exploded forward. The transport van accelerated behind them. Every intersection ahead was cleared before they arrived. Traffic lights changed. Roadblocks opened. Cars pulled aside. The convoy flew across the city faster than anyone thought possible. Inside the refrigerated container, the digital timer kept counting. 00:36,048. Marcus never looked away from the road. Then the van suddenly jolted. A loud warning alarm echoed through the cabin. Beep, beep, beep. A red light flashed across the dashboard. The refrigerated transport unit had detected a critical power failure. Marcus's heart stopped. If the cooling system failed, the donor heart would become unusable, and all of this would have been for nothing. The warning alarm echoed through the van. Beep, beep, beep. Marcus glanced at the dashboard. The backup battery for the refrigerated transport unit had failed. The digital display flashed red. Cooling system error. His heart pounded. He grabbed the emergency phone. Control. This is Marcus. I've lost backup power. The dispatcher answered immediately. Primary cooling is still active. You have approximately 25 minutes before the internal temperature reaches the safety limit. Marcus tightened his grip on the steering wheel. 25 minutes. The hospital was still 18 minutes away. There was no room for another mistake. The motorcycle escort accelerated. The lead trooper's voice came over the police radio. Every intersection is clear. No one stops this convoy. The convoy raced through the city. Traffic lights turned green before they arrived. Officers blocked cross streets. Drivers pulled over without hesitation. Inside the operating room, Dr. Emily Carter looked toward the clock. How much longer? The transplant coordinator listened to his headset. They're 8 minutes away. For the first time all evening, hope returned to the room. Outside, Ava's mother quietly whispered, "Please let them make it." Back on the road, the hospital finally came into view. Marcus saw emergency staff waiting outside the entrance with a transport cart. The convoy stopped. Marcus jumped from the van, carefully lifted the temperature-controlled container, and ran. Doctors, nurses, and transplant technicians surrounded him. Dr. Carter met him at the doors. "You made it." Marcus handed her the container. "Go save her." Without another word, the transplant team disappeared into the operating suite. The operating room doors slammed shut. The hallway became silent. Marcus leaned against the wall, exhausted. The lead trooper slowly walked over. "I owe you an apology." Marcus looked up. "You were trying to protect the public." The trooper nodded. "But I forgot something. Sometimes protecting the public also means trusting the people trained to save lives." Marcus smiled. "And today, we both learned something." Several hours later, the operating room doors finally opened. Every person in the hallway stood. Dr. Carter stepped out. Her surgical mask was lowered. There were tears in her eyes, but this time, they were tears of relief. The transplant was successful. Ava's mother covered her mouth before collapsing into tears of joy. She hugged every member of the surgical team. Then she walked straight to Marcus. "You gave my daughter a second chance." Marcus quietly replied, "No, a lot of people did." He looked down the hallway. Police officers, nurses, doctors, dispatchers, motorcycle escorts, tow truck operators, and complete strangers who had cleared the highway. One decision, one team, one little life saved. The lead trooper turned toward the waiting reporters outside the hospital. He stepped up to the microphones. "Today, people saw a traffic stop. I saw something much bigger. I saw a professional who refused to give up. And I saw an entire community prove that, when every second matters. Working together saves lives." The cameras turned toward Marcus. He simply picked up his empty transport case, smiled, and quietly walked back to his van. Because real heroes don't wait for applause. They get ready for the next life that needs saving. If this story reminded you that teamwork, courage, and determination can change someone's future, comment life below. And don't forget to subscribe to Tale Fame for more emotional, movie-style stories with unforgettable twists and powerful endings.